Hey, 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 everybody. What is going on? It is I, DJ Maya. I am back. We are at the top of the hour. It is 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time when you're watching this. We are pre-recording, but this is WVEWLP 107.7 FM. For those of you who are listening online, blessings and infinite love to you. Thank you for tuning in. You have tuned into WVEW.org. Check out the website, send a donation. We love that. We love it. So this is the Mad Chatter Show. Every Friday from 10 to midnight, I have my show. I've started doing the interviews again. I know you guys have been asking for them. So I have another interview for you. I am so excited to hear her story. She came along the line of, I believe, a couple other interviews that I've been doing this month. So I'm super excited. And let's see, what else can I say? Oh, the views and opinions expressed on this program are those of me and my guest and not of the radio station. So, you know, just keep the negative stuff to yourself. Okay, it's all blessings and love over here. So with that being said, I'm super excited to introduce you. Stefanie, say hello. Say hello to the listeners. Let them know all about you. Let them know where you're at if you want. And also, this is a good time to also let them know how to find you, because while they're listening to us talk, they can still, check out your links and stuff. So take it away. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. My name is Stefanie O'Neil. I am a QHHT hypnotherapist, a Reiki master. I also transmute energy, which is I am able to take negative energy and I can transmute it into positive energy. It doesn't really matter if it's with a specific person or in a group of individuals, but I'm able to walk into a room and kind of affect the energy in that room and kind of move it around. I have a TikTok channel that I started. It's QHHT with Stefanie, and that's on TikTok. You can also find me. I have an open Facebook page, Stefanie, Stefanie Ellen, Ellen, O'Neil, Oneil, Turk, Turk. It's kind of a long name in there because I really wanted to make sure that people that I used to know could find me and then new people could find me. So, but I know there's a lot of people that work with many different modalities, have many different types of gifts. And I'm always like so intrigued on meeting those individuals. I myself work with guardian angels. So my guide, the one that came in with me and I was born with, is Michael. And he is Archangel Michael. And he's been with me since I was very, very young. And at the time, of course, I did not know that I was working with guardian angels. I guess I did, but I also did not because I had that whole upbringing where my family was very, very religious. And they were the really, I can't remember what it's called now, Missouri Senate Lutherans. And so women couldn't vote. They were, I went to Sunday school, and it was just, we all know the Bible, and the Bible is exactly the way that it is. And so I kind of grew up like that. But it was really when I was growing up, it was a little bit of a struggle for me because I knew that I could kind of see things that other people didn't see. And I could understand things that other people didn't understand. And I would feel things such as animals. I could understand animals very, very well. not hear them specifically, but I could understand them, and they were very attracted to me. Um, I also once in a while would have an angel that would kind of come and hang out with me. And I just kind of assumed as a kid that everyone had that go on. And when I finally did talk to my mom a little bit later, she didn't think I was crazy or anything. But she just said, those are things we should probably not talk about, and we should probably keep those things to ourselves. And so I did. And the older I got, the more I realized that I was a little bit different. But anyway, so that's kind of the quick and dirty, I guess, the beginning of my story.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's like a lot of the light workers, we have very similar stories where we're told we can't talk, don't talk about it. Um, it's very fascinating. I was told that there's different stages that you go through. There's like up to 3 years old. And if you're still able to see things, then it goes up to like, I think 8 or 9, or is it 10? Basically, it's the same age groups that they do the abductions with the kids, the
Mhm.
age groups. It's that point. There's an energy point there. And also before 12. So by the time a kid is 12 years old, if your parents have been telling you your whole life, don't talk about it, this and this and this and that, it shuts down your abilities.
Yeah, well, there is a part of me that always
Or
knew, just always kind of knew that they were there. There was kind of a part of me that was always connected. I didn't, when people would read like biblical text and things to me, I was really confused all the time because the way that they interpreted biblical text or the way they interpreted things would frustrate me because that's not how I understood it to be. And they would, people would get frustrated with me, mostly the minister, because, I didn't, I mean, I wouldn't, they would read it and I would think to myself, well, that sounds really harsh. That's not how I know God. And I always had a very, very close relationship to source, and my angels. When I was 17 years old, I really had gone through a lot in my life by that age. And of course, there was a lot more to come. As healers, that we just really go through the gamut because, uh, we have to understand that's how we learn. You don't learn empathy by someone telling you how to be empathetic. You learn it through, those hardships of needing someone to be empathetic with you. Um, you know, Feeling empathy for others, being in those types of situations. And that's how we learn as human beings. But at 17, I had a suicide attempt. And I was very, very depressed, kind of growing up. My parents had gone through divorce. Um, I never, ever felt like I belonged anywhere. I was drinking at that time really heavily. I was doing acid at the time. So really into all that. And I just kind of, you know, got to this point in life where now I recognize I just really didn't feel loved or valued as a human being. And so I had this suicide attempt and it was this horrible situation. I was fine, got my stomach pumped. I took a bunch of pills. And that next week, after I was released from the hospital, I went into a gas station and I was standing at the counter getting a pop. And all of a sudden, I had this like very strange, almost a familiar feeling. And I looked over to my left, like expecting, like, I knew someone was there. And it was Archangel Michael was standing right next to me. And he just turned and looked down at me and smiled. And it scared me so bad. And he wasn't, I mean, he's not a he or a she. I say he's a he, but he's like, it's not that way. But he was how I thought he should look. And he was just a very beautiful, bright light, wonderful being. And I just heard him say, I'm always with you. And I was like, I ran out of the store. I got in my car. I cried and cried and cried. I was like, that's it. I'm having a nervous breakdown, you know. But over the years, we've developed our relationship, I guess. And yeah, it unfortunately took, you know, a lot more tragedy for me to kind of get to the place that I am today, which I guess by saying unfortunately, um, I don't really mean that because I would actually go through every single thing again to be the person that I am at this moment.
Oh, bless your soul. I would not. You know, we have very similar stories. Oh my God. I took pills at 11 or 12, trying to
Mhm.
exit my first time. That didn't work. And then the second time I was 15, I took like 32. I think I counted them. 32 pills. Woke up 3 days later in the ICU in a straitjacket from a coma,
Mhm.
induced coma. And then again 6 months later, I was like, I was trying to get out. And then I found out later that the reason why they wouldn't let me go is that my Syrian family abducted me and adjusted my frequency and sent me back because my family was so dark because we were Catholic and it was
Mhm.
very dark. Everybody was on drugs and alcoholics, and it was just not a good scene. And so they sent me back because apparently I had a very important mission and they weren't going to let me out of it. You know how mad I was? I was like wanting to fight my guides. I was like, you're all fired. Like, why am I here? You know? And then it wasn't until blessings after Crotch 19, I call it Crotch 19, 2020, you know, COVID, where I just stepped into my power. So we have very similar stories. So how long? Okay, so I know you're getting ready to go into the next step. Next
Oh
step,
yeah.
like what comes next. But before you do that, I just want to ask really quick. Um, when did you? So I remember you before we started. You had said recently you just started to do it. Okay, so that's a dead giveaway. So I already know it's coming. So okay, go ahead. So finish telling your story because we probably were you born in '76?
74.
Okay, okay. I was 76. So see, we're that first wave
Mhm. We're
that
the second wave.
I was told we're the first wave.
We are the second wave. We actually, there's one wave before us, and that
Well, I
wave,
know that's what Dolores Cannon said.
yes.
But in my session most recently, I was talking to somebody that we tapped in about the 144,000 and I asked,
Oh.
what
Mhm.
was I? And she said I was part of the first wave. I
Mhm.
was like, the first wave, I was told that it was this, but she said no, that it doesn't necessarily mean that. But then someone else said that it was between 40. Someone said, well, you must be like 49, 50 then. And I was like, well, I'm 48. I'll be 49 in May. But I don't know. That's all I know. So I'm curious to know more about it. Like I've only asked a little bit. This is the first time I've ever asked, what wave am I? I thought it was like the third wave of something, you know. But yeah, so if when you do your sessions, maybe you can ask again. I don't know. Have you been asking this at all to find out?
Well, so I get a lot of like I'll have thoughts and feelings that will kind of pop into my mind. And when I talk to my guardian angels, you know, they've told me kind of, you know, who I am and they've showed me visions of what I'm going to be doing. They won't they don't out they stop at a certain area and don't let me kind of go beyond that because they're like, it's a surprise, it's a surprise. You know, they're always, I'm like, you guys and your, you know, goddamn surprises. But they apparently I really like surprises, which I do, but I don't want to. Anyway, I digress.
Right.
But so the first wave of individuals that came in were actually the test subjects that were coming in to start moving energy in a different way. Now, these individuals really didn't do a whole lot. They were mostly they were some of our parents. Um, there are some of our grandparents that were that wave, but what they did was they came in to start testing the water, and making, you know, a little bit of that energetic change with the changes that they were making throughout life. Now, the majority of them were very upset to be here because, I mean, it's rough, right? It can be really rough. So then they sent in the next waves, and you can fall. So I want to explain this, because I want to say this because it's really important and it keeps popping into my head. And it actually, I did a TikTok on it this week. So, it does not really matter first wave, second wave, third wave. It doesn't matter even, uh, you know, male, female, any of that kind of stuff. Okay. We are, you know, when we talk about collective, you and I you're part of my soul and I'm part of your soul. It's not only an energetic, like, mysticism out there. We originated from the same place. We have the same exact components. We could merge ourselves together. Okay. Um, we are all, we are like, we are all the same. So when I talk about that, maybe I should explain soul. um, I think people have this like vision of like a globular of a piece of God came out of God and then you know, went into a human or a cat or a blade of grass or whatever it is. And that's kind of correct. But that part of us, that soul piece of us, is, I was thinking the other day, if I was going to explain it to someone, and this isn't even correct, it's like the Northern Lights. If you've ever looked at the Northern Lights and they have all of those beautiful colors that are like twisting and intermingling and kind of flowing through one another, that is really what that is more representative of our soul. So there is, you know, like you and I, you know, have an energetic exchange in this conversation. Um, but we have parts of angelic parts of us. We have parts of God. You and I have parts. We have parts of animals. All of that intertwined, kind of dancing. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, now I
Yeah.
forgot what you asked me.
Oh no, I was just asking about the wave. Now, was this information that you got in your sessions, or was this from like the Dolores Cannon teachings?
This is information that my angels have told me.
Okay. So one thing I find that's very funny and interesting is that when I talk to the angels, I realize like talking to the angels is like just talking to anybody. Everyone has their own perspective,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So my angel that I'm connected to, my higher archangel, is Archangel Michael as well. So
Oh.
I work closely with him all the time.
Mhm.
Um, I'm always joking with him and teasing him about his brother because I love Archangel Hillel. And
Mhm.
so that's his twin brother, Archangel Lucifer. That's not his name, Archangel Hillel or Helio. And so I'm always like, when I call him in, you know, I'm always teasing him because I'm like, okay, so what are you guys up to this week? Because like they're always like debating and competing against each other, and they're like, I'm better than you type of thing, you know. And it's so funny. And one time I had a girl that had an entity attachment. She wouldn't leave. She was like, no, I like it here. I'm not going anywhere. And I was like, thinking she's a young lady. She's been there a while. I
Mhm.
said she's not going to be able to resist these two hot brothers, right? So I called it. I said, you know what? I got two guys I want you to meet, and I get all excited when I think about it. And I was like, I want you to meet these two sexy brothers, Archangel Michael and his twin brother, Archangel Helio. And as
Mhm.
soon as I said that, she's like, oh, you got my attention. And as soon as I said that, they popped in, and I had asked the higher self, like, what's happening? And she said, she's like, oh, she's got one on each arm, and they're walking off like into the sunset, you know. And I'm like, it was so cute. So she was like, bye, see you later. She didn't even tell me. She was like, I'm out of here. You had me at hello, you know.
Mhm.
But what I wanted to ask you was, in the sessions that you find, do you ever find, and then we'll get back to your story. I want to get back to your story.
Yes, yes.
But in your sessions, do you find that you get different messages? Do you ever get
Oh,
different messages that you're like, you told me this week, now you're telling me this? Does that
so
ever happen to you?
it is, and the reason it does happen is because it's twofold. And I was explaining this to somebody that was arguing with me the other day about the earth, and he's like, well, what did he say? He said something about some, he said there is no earth, we're not really on the earth, there is no earth. And I said, you are correct and you're not correct. And he's like, that doesn't even make sense. And I said, you have to understand that the earth is dreaming of itself, and has also in that dream created pieces or parts of itself, and we are part of that dream, but we are also dreaming of the earth. So I
Mhm.
said, it is real, but it is not real. We are in part somewhat creating our own reality, but within saying that, you have to understand that that's also not true. We can't actually, like, I can't get to a point of meditation where I create a box of chocolates right here in front of me that I can sit and munch on. People think we can, but
You
so
can't manifest it, materialize it in front of you.
right. But you can manifest into materialization um different types of things because you're asking for them. Now, um, the mixed messages have to do with the different beliefs that people hold within themselves, and also the connections that they have to, source, other beings. Um, you know, I haven't met aliens. Well, I know inside me that I have, but the brain part of me, this part of me right here, doesn't doesn't see them or whatever, but I remember them somewhat, right? Um, but I also remember some of my past lives, pieces of them, things like that. Are all
Mm.
of these things true? They're absolutely true. But you have to understand they're all also existing at the same time. Like right now, as I'm speaking to you, there is several pieces of me that are here, within this plane at different vibrational frequencies. There are pieces of me in different realms. There are pieces of me on different planets, because I've chosen, just like yourself, to consume knowledge. And so it's not really a sliver. If you keep in mind like what our soul looks like as far as that dance, it is just mysticism of ourselves floating out there, collecting information, living different lives. So it is true and it's not, if that makes sense. So yes, it can be, there can be a wave of people that came before us. There can be multiple, um, or not, depending on where we are on our different, on the different timelines, in our different understanding, our different types of knowledge. Does that make sense? A little bit like it's trying to like devolve it a little bit there, but it gets a little big. Your audio cut out.
That's so funny. It told me
Oh.
that I was muted. Wow. That's so crazy. Like, how did that know that? But yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I was just curious. Um, before I keep going down the rabbit hole, I
Mhm.
want to get back to your story
Oh,
because I know it's an amazing story and I really want to hear it. So I like to sometimes take a left and then come back around.
sure.
But
Hey, however you want to do it. Yeah.
so yeah, so you were saying your childhood, right? And
Mhm.
then so what happened from there after 17? Did you become super spiritual after that? Did anything change for you, or what happened after you had your episode?
Well, I want to say, first up to 17, I don't want to like, my angels are like, you can complain about your life, but I don't like to complain about my life. I had wonderful parents. They were beautiful human beings that made a ton of mistakes with their life. Okay. There was lots of infidelity on both sides. They made errors growing up. I think people forget that as we're, growing, we're learning. I'm a parent too, and I just don't have all the answers. So, anyway, it wasn't like, my life wasn't definitely, I don't want to say my life was ever the worst ever, ever. It was difficult for me. I felt it was difficult for me. After 17, I was an atheist for a long time. I absolutely was fed up with religion. Nothing made sense. I studied Judaism, Buddhism. I looked at different types of religions. I looked at, different types of just, living and being on this world. And I was very frustrated with every single thing that I would ever do. Even though I had seen an angel and I felt different than everybody else, I was like, this is all, not real. And I was very frustrated. So for a long time, I was an atheist, which was really hard for my mom because she had gone from being a Missouri Synod Lutheran to really going down to basically like a very open type, religion, Lutheran religion. Um, and, my dad had been Catholic and he was more spiritual after that. And I just was really, kind of on that in that area of life until I was in my mid 20s where I just hated everything and everybody. Like I was like, I just really always felt like everything was a lie. And I mean, now, right, we know it is. So, you know,
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
but I did not really fully wake up until about 2 years ago. When I was in my 20s, I met my husband. We got into a relationship. We were together for my ex-husband. We were together for almost 20 years. Um, I did not realize in that marriage that I was in an abusive marriage. I had no idea. I grew up with aunts and uncles and friends and some family members that really excessively drank. For a part of my life, I excessively drank. Um, but I was extremely successful. I just got an associate's degree, but I ran with it as far as I could. I worked at the U of M for many years, managing clinics, multiple clinics. Um, I, really bought like a really beautiful home and car and all the crap that went with it. My now ex-husband became an electrician and, we kind of went, down that whole road. And it was, it wasn't until I got pregnant, which I got pregnant at 39, um, and it was planned because I really wanted to have a baby. And I had I have still a daughter, stepdaughter, but she's really my daughter who's 27. But when I was sober during that pregnancy, I realized that I was in a lot of trouble. And I started looking around and I realized how horrible my life had gotten. It didn't really matter about the, home and, the vehicles and, whatever it was. I realized that this was not probably how life should be. And I again had found religion at that point, because really started turning to God and praying a lot about, what am I going to do? And of course, because I had taken my vows of marriage, I thought to myself, well, I obviously can't get divorced because I already told God that I was going to be married. So here I am. Um, but my husband was a horrible alcoholic. He wasn't the type of alcoholic that was, he was everyone always had a great time with him and he was so funny. And, what was ever my problem with his drinking? But he would drink, almost a liter of whiskey a day. And it never ended. It just kept getting more. And then all of a sudden I realized nothing made sense. Like, I realized none of his stories added up, you know. Um, Things in his life didn't add up. And then I started to wonder, is he having affairs? What's going on here? Um, we moved away from the area that we were in and into this big, giant house with this new baby. And I thought, this is going to be perfect. It's on a bunch of land. We're going to garden. We're going to do all the things that we planned to do when we had first gotten married. And none of that everything was great for about 6 months. And then it all went right back to where it was. And at that point in my life, I didn't want to party all the time and run around because I really like being a mom. And, and I had this amazing kid and he loved her very much, but he couldn't stop. And so things just kept getting worse and worse. Like there started to become physical abuse. I did not realize the way he was talking to me was I looked in the mirror one day and I was just, I really wasn't even a person anymore. I was just like this thing that had, I basically just turned into like what I felt like, which was just this very depressed, extremely sad, like almost not really even a person anymore. And so, I decided at that point, man, I really have to make some changes in my life. So this is kind of where things get interesting. We ended up filing for divorce and getting divorced. And after that, I took 2 years off to I was like, I'll take a couple years off, really heal, do all my healing work, and I thought during that time, I wasn't dating anyone, I wasn't doing anything like that. I didn't have any, reason or want to do anything like that. But I was basically partying with my girlfriends, calling it healing, like thinking that's what I was doing. I got into a relationship with someone that was totally opposite, did not drink, didn't didn't have a lot of money, and not that money means anything, but wasn't didn't have any like didn't want to support me in any like way, any emotional way, anything. But because he didn't drink and because he said he was a Buddhist, I was like, this is obviously a great guy for me. And I, moved him and his kids into my house and welcomed them with open arms because I'm just like that. And I was found out 2 years into or almost 2 years in, I was in the same exact relationship that I had gotten out of. And I mean, I was like,
Oh no.
what is happening here? You know what I mean?
Oh dang. A wolf in sheep's clothing, huh?
Yes. Um,
Hmm.
I finally realized after that relationship ended, I had been started having a lot of dreams about my angels again. And I had started feeling very differently about things. And then I saw a picture in my mind of all of these guys lined up, and like a little line that drew like straight through them. And I realized that even though they were very different, I mean, they looked different, they had different, things about them. They were the same person. And I suddenly, all of a sudden, I couldn't not see everything. Like I could see why my parents had, divorced the way they had. It taught me, when I got divorced, how I wanted to be with my daughter. I had had a lot of, some sexual abuse had happened to me when I was a kid. And I realized that those things had happened to me because I was able to then relate to some of the people around me that those things had happened to. I sat down one afternoon and I started piecing together every part of my life and how I actually had gone through all of those things to be able to, help people, and not only help people, but understand exactly what it was that they were going through, that, you know, I could bring myself back to that emotional state and make them feel like someone was actually listening and understood them. And then I could tell them, you know, we can we can actually move out of this and we can recover from this. And we can understand that these are hurtful, terrible things. And no one denies that. Um, but they are things that we're strong enough to be able to move beyond. And we can separate our physical being and our emotional self enough to learn the lesson within. And those lessons are the big lessons, that keep us going in life.
Yes,
But
indeed.
yes. But when I did start having my awakening, which was a few years ago, I, like you, fought with my angels. I cried. I didn't understand what was happening to me. Both of my parents, over this period of time when I was in the middle of a horrible divorce, um, my mom was dying of cancer. I'd been taking care of her for about 3 years, and they had said that she had 6 months. I am a psychotic investigator, so I was digging through I was like, that is a lie. I contacted everyone in the United States and outside of the United States, and looked for the cure for cancer and found a bazillion of them. But at the end of the day, um, you know, the year that she died, I realized that, it didn't matter if I had a cure or not. was her choice. And she was the type of individual, like many people, that just wanted me to hand her a pill, a pill that would make everything go away. And I couldn't just do that. So she had passed on. And right after that, a year later, my stepdad got cancer and he died 26 days later. And this is all going on through my divorce. And then right after that, I had about a year and a half, and my dad, whom I was really close with, um, went in for a heart procedure, ended up in ICU for 3 months, and then he passed away. And I, and I was getting laid off at the time. And in all of these things happening, everything was crashing down around me. I was completely like going to work, you know, doing all my work things, shaking hands with all my people, meeting with all my physicians, doing all my schedules because I had moved and now I was in charge of 3 clinics in the area. Doing all of these, doing everything that I was supposed to do, going home, making dinner, all of this stuff. And I finally, one day, was sitting at my desk when they had moved me into this call center, and I was the supervisor in a call center. And I had this girl call me, whom was a new supervisor, and she said, I know you don't know me very well, but she said, I have recently become psychic. And she said, um, are you happy? Because I am getting the feeling from, I don't know if it's angels or what, that you're a very unhappy person and that you're not where you're supposed to be. And I completely broke down and cried. And that's when I started my journey, which was a couple of years ago. I dove headfirst to everything that I would think or hear that would pop into my mind. I heard you should learn Reiki. So I didn't know what Reiki was. I went out, there was a Reiki master that was 10 miles from me. So I started taking classes and I found out I was amazing at Reiki. I mean, I was really good and I zipped through that. And then QHHT kept popping up. And so I was like, okay, let's try this. And I understood people. Like everybody I would meet, I just got it. Like I just, and I hope I don't sound like I'm bragging, but I just understood like what they were going through. And I could feel it because I am a very strong empath. Um, and then I decided last June that, you know, my life is just not making me happy in any way, shape, or form. I don't want to do this anymore. This job in healthcare is hurting more people than it's helping. I don't want to be a part of anything that hurts individuals. So I I was going to travel for the summer and my guardian angels fractured my clavicle, which I ended up being off for 12 weeks and to be fair, I want to say that I had been asking my guardian angels, please give me the time that I need to be with my daughter. And just because even though we had been alone for a while, we hadn't really had time together. I said, I just want some time with my daughter. So I fractured my clavicle. I was off for 12 weeks paid. And during that time, we sold our house. I lived in a car with her, not really in a car. We went and visited people and stayed with them. And I ended up in Wisconsin. I was visiting my brother and he said, you can't really live in your car and you can't like run around without a job. And I said, that's probably, this was this past summer. I was like, yeah, you're probably right. That day, a townhome opened 4 blocks from him and we just moved in and here we are. I sold everything. I got rid of everything in my life. Everything that didn't make sense. She got rid of everything. And here we are and we're happy. I started my own
How,
business, you know,
how old is your daughter?
11.
Oh, wow. And how does she feel about you with all this, your journey? She's totally supportive. She understands. Or is she like,
She
Mom, what are you doing?
Well, everything that I've done, I've talked, we've talked about. I told her she was sad to leave where we were in Minnesota. We lived in Zimmerman. And I told her, I said, hey, you know what? I've talked to my guardian angels. We've been religious, ever since. We'd go to church, but I was like, hey, look, the Bible's kind of like a guide, it's a parable. It's just kind of telling us how to live. And we talk about religion and stuff. She has gifts of her own, but she doesn't like me to talk about them that have been more and more and more activated recently. But um, I said to her, hey, give me 6 months. And if in 6 months, wherever we are in the world, if you're unhappy, we'll just come back here because really, I mean, nothing is controlling us and nothing's stopping us from being anywhere, doing anything that we want with our lives. So if you want to come back here in 6 months, let's do it. And we were here for a couple of weeks. She started school and she said, I have not been this happy in a long time. And she's made a whole bunch of new friends. Just loves the area. We had a like I've said before that animals are somewhat drawn to me, so we have all these animals now and stuff like that, so our life is totally different. You're on mute.
Nice. Sorry. Nice. That's, see, you just never know. You never know. That's so amazing. Um, when you received your house and your blessing, were and at any point in time, did the thought cross your mind of what you might want, or were you just open for anything?
I, well, I had been learning a lot about manifestation. And so I had told my guardian angels that I just want something that I can manage because the house that we had before was over 3,000 square feet. It was on 3 acres. I literally would, with all of my life, I'd go to bed at 11 o'clock every night, get up at 5 in the morning and just like be crazy all the time. And so as a Virgo, it was rough for me because I like everything, to be neat and tidy. So I had asked for them something that I could manage, something small, but something that we would love. And this place is perfect for now. I mean, it's meeting every single one of our needs and we really, I mean, my daughter loves this area, loves the place that we're renting. I mean, it's
Nice.
nice. So yeah.
Wonderful. Hey, it's a journey, it's a roller coaster ride. You never know where it's going to take you. Just got to enjoy the moment, right?
Hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think I was, my sister-in-law was saying to me, she's like, I'm so surprised. Like you just all of a sudden on a dime changed everything. And I told my sister-in-law that I really want to show my daughter that she can change anytime she wants. She can reinvent herself over and over again as many times. And there are no restrictions in this life. She doesn't have to work a job she hates. She doesn't have to do things she doesn't want to do. She doesn't have to be anyone or be anything to anyone. I want her to understand that, safety isn't something you earn and love isn't something that you earn. It is something that is there for you always. And so, you know, I think that in through my actions, I'm building a stronger person because she is our future, you know?
The future is hers. I
Right.
tell my daughter, I have a 6-year-old, I'm like, and I tell my husband, I'm like, these kids, this, we, the, it's the future, what we're doing now, it matters to them and their future. Like what are we going to leave them? What are we doing for them? So when you hear the kids nowadays, these high vibrational souls that I don't know about you, what you've heard, but I was told that they don't have no karma, that they're just high
Oh yeah.
vibrational. Yeah. So I was
Yeah,
like,
they don't have, they're not, and they don't accumulate karma like we did, right? I mean,
right.
I'm sure just like you, I'm sure I had to like spend all that down. I mean, I had to really work to get rid of my karma. So I'm
Oh,
glad that they're not they don't have, they've got the veil.
yes, yes. My child is very high vibrational, you know. She's like a ball of sunshine, but she can also come through like I don't even know what. She rules the house. She
Yes.
runs the house. She runs. I bought her a little Jesus doll to go to sleep, you know, because she was having nightmares. Her nightmares are very real, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very real.
Yeah.
And like elementals, like we'd have to do another podcast on that. Like she just has so many. But I bought her a little Jesus doll, and you like I don't know if you've seen these. I'm obsessed with them. They're so cute. You click on the little foot and this little heart lights up and it breathes for you. It helps you breathe, you know. And then it has a lullaby and something else. I can't remember, but she was having these really bad nightmares and I was like getting so tired of it. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna get you a Jesus doll because she loves Jesus. And every time she sees like the videos, I'll catch her off guard and she'll be standing there like this. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm watching Jesus. And she'll be like praying. Um, yeah, that's a whole nother story. I'll have to tell you that. That's a whole nother story. But does your daughter have nightmares or anything like that? Or her dreams very vivid as well? Like I know these kids nowadays, I wonder what are they dreaming? You know, my daughter dreams of dragons and elementals and things abducting her. Like she has dreams. Are they dreaming nowadays that they're being abducted instead of it, you know, it happening while they're, you know, semi awake?
I think that sometimes, they could be, I mean, it could be many things. My daughter sometimes remembers past lives. She'll be telling me something and I'm like, oh, and I'll think to myself, I know that she can't know that, and I know that didn't happen. So she has, because the veil is so thin for them, I think they do have little pieces of their past lives that bleed into their dreams. My daughter, one of her guardians angels is a dragon. So
Oh,
I think sometimes that, and I've seen him as well. He's probably, we share him, but
what
anyway,
color is she?
uh, it doesn't, it's no color. It's like almost an energy source,
Like a light dragon?
yeah, kind of like a light dragon, more
Oh,
so, but with a
interesting.
very, very large, almost perfect lizard-like eyes, like very, very,
What color are the eyes?
like golden
Like a
greenish.
golden greenish.
Mhm.
Oh,
Really large, like perfect. I can almost see the eyes right now. It was funny because I was on a walk one day and he was in a cloud and I looked up and it startled me for a second and it's like he moved a little bit like this in the cloud and I was like, and he just evaporated,
oh,
but the eye is so perfect. It's almost reminds me of like, I'm always watching you. I'm always here
right.
type thing.
Yes,
But
yes.
but
I
I
love
think
my
it's
dragons.
yeah, I think it's a little bit of past lives. I think it's that we're gonna have everybody's gonna experience alien contact soon. So it could be some of that. I mean, who knows? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That it's all very fascinating, I tell you. It's all very fascinating. Um, is there is there anything that you want to add? The last closing, anything special that you want to talk about? Anything about your work or what's super fascinating to you or I don't know. I mean, this obviously we'd have to do more than one of these interviews because there's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
An hour goes by so fast.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm always curious about the work too, like people's work and what you get to encounter. Are you writing any? I've got 100 questions for you right now.
Yeah.
But are you writing any books about your work as well? Are you doing that? Are
I'm
you
not
lucky enough to be able to do that?
I'm not I'm not writing any books about my work. I'm really right now immersed in um just I've asked my guides and my guardian angels, for some of my abilities back. And so things that I've dreamt of, things that I, know that I have somewhere inside. One of them was being able to touch things and absorb knowledge. So I'm practicing and working on that right now. I also want to be clairaudient. I want to physically hear them. So I'm asking a lot, I'm working on that type of meditation, but this is kind of funny. So I am not working on a book, but one of the things that they had given me was a youth serum, like a while ago or whatever. And so I started making these little serums or whatever. And then I kind of started experimenting with them. And so I'm coming up with a new skincare line that I'm going to be coming out with, uh, you know, for youth and like a hair growth serum. So,
I need some of that use.
well, you
I'm
look
already
great.
getting
You look
jowls.
great. But yeah, so I've kind of been working on that type of thing. They really, want me to be, happy and do things that make me happy at this point in my life. And so I'm trying to do those things. I'm trying to work with people. I have a new office that I'm opening up with another individual. Her name is Fran. She is audio clairvoyant and she is audio clairvoyant with animals. And so she's an animal communicator. She does Reiki. Her and I are opening an office in Eau Claire, and I think it's May 10th. We're going to have our grand opening. I'm going to put something in the paper. And so,
Oh, how
yeah,
exciting.
yeah, it is super exciting.
I was just telling my coworker today, I was like, my future goal is one day I would like to have a storefront, but then I was trying to picture myself being there. And I'm so antsy that I don't know if I could be there all day. I'm like appointment only. I'll meet you at the office. That's why I like my she sheds because I could do everything right at my house. And I could just be like zip over.
Mhm.
But it's been so wonderful talking to you. It's already coming up on our hour. Would you like to add any closing statements or any last messages for our listeners? And then also say again your website and all that good.
Yeah. Well, you can find me. I do TikToks on QHHT with Stephanie on TikTok. You can also find me Stefanie Ellen O'Neil Turk on Facebook. I have an office that I'm opening up pretty soon. One of these days, I'll get a skincare line going. But I guess if I could say anything to anyone in the world, I would definitely say that the most important thing that I've found to be true, for everyone in this world is that the more you love yourself, the more you will have all of these wonderful and amazing experiences come to you. And everyone, every single one of us has the capability to do anything we want with our lives. Nothing in this world, your mind anywhere controls you. Nothing. You can make a decision at any point in time to change your life for you, yourself, and your loved ones.
Beautiful. Yes, indeed. Amen Ra. Well, thank you so much for joining me. This has been such a treat. I enjoyed talking to you. I look forward to connecting with you more. And yeah, so listeners, check her out, check out her work, follow her. And are you taking services as well? Are you?
I do. I don't do Zoom, but I do see clients out of Eau Claire, and I do travel typically on weekends, but that's pretty costly for people. So if you really would like to book a session with me, all you have to do is reach out. I do have my email on my TikTok site and how to get a hold of me on Facebook. But all you have to do is email me. It's stefoneil@gmail.com. And I'm happy to help you find a QHHT hypnotherapist in your area.
Wonderful. Yeah, because you guys don't do on phone online yet, right?
A
QHHT.
lot, a lot of people do, but I really like to work with people's energy as well when I do QHHT. So I really like those in person, teaching.
Nice.
So
I've done like one-on-one in person, and I've done a couple groups in person. I like the group ones.
yeah.
But the first time, really quick,
Yeah.
last thing for my listeners, when I did a live session with the person who came to see me, I used the singing bowl to do my Reiki, I was doing some Reiki healing for her, and I activated her, and she started singing in light language.
Oh,
And now it's
nice.
like her second language. She just
Mhm.
like, and she's also connected to Lilith.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that her story was amazing. It's on my YouTube page. Her
Oh,
story was amazing.
I will
That
check it
was some
out.
serious healing right there.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Yes, you too.
I will talk to you soon so we can say goodbye to our listeners.
Bye.
Bye, listeners. Thank you. I'm just
Later.
recording. Bye, guys.